Okay, today we're going to do the Pesachim from Zion with Aleph. We're going to be speaking about a sugya. We almost finished the perek. We're going to be speaking about sugya of taking truma, taking payah from vegetables. We said that there's a field with payah. Payah means you have to leave a corner of your field for the poor people. So we said yesterday that when it comes to vegetables, you do not have to take payah from vegetables. So up to Novavim at base, all the way at the bottom, the second line from the bottom. We learn the Brisa, but payah la lefes v'lakruv. They used to take payah from turnips. Second, yeah. So in the beginning, they used to take payah from turnips and cabbages, even though cabbages in terms of vegetables, but they used to take payah from that. Like we said yesterday, the turnips are vegetables that are very hard, so they stay good for a long time. So that goes under the category of payah. So they would take from turnips and just a second. They would take from turnips and cabbages. So Rabbi says, af lakatlef. Rabbi says that they would even take not only from turnips and vegetables, even from leeks. Leeks are also a harder type of vegetable, so they would take even from leeks. So that's one brisa. Okay, so the brisa, the Tanakh says they would take from cabbage and turnips, and basically added they would take from leeks also. Tani Idach, we have another brisa that says, they would take from leeks and turnips, leeks and turnips. So the question is, another question, the contradiction to the brises is what is the extra? What is the af? According to the first brisa, so we take from turnips and from and cabbages, and we come to add that even from leeks, we should also take payah. The second brisa says the other way around, that everyone agrees that you take from cabbage, you take from turnips and leeks. The question is if you take from cabbage or not. Comes up Shimon and says you take from cabbage. So the question, so we have two different contradicting prices. So answers the Gemara, name what Tulasa Tanoi have. So maybe there's three Tanoi. Right? The first Tana that says that you take, the first time that everyone said that you take from two vegetables, and there's an argument between two Tanaim if you add cabbage, or do you add leeks? Answers the Gemara, Loi have it. There's two Tanoi. There's not three Tanoi. There's an argument in two Tanoi. The Tanakam is the Tanakam, the Reb Shimon, and Rabbi. The first Baisa that said, the second Baisa that said that Reb Shimon adds a cabbage also. So the Tanakam of that Baisa is Reb Shimon, is Rabbi Yossi. The Tanakam is Rabbi Yossi and Reb Shimon, and the other Baisa that says we don't add cabbage, we add turnips. So that goes according to Rabbi Yossi. Basically, everyone agrees. There's two Tanoi, Reb Shimon and Rabbi Yossi. Both agree that we take dmai of three vegetables: turnips, cabbages, and leeks. The question is, what is more of a chiddush? So Rabbi Yossi says that what do you mean? When it comes to turnips and to cabbages, everyone agrees that you take turnips and cabbages. The question is, if you take from leeks also, and these machadish you take from leeks also. Reb Shimon says no, the chiddush is not leeks. The chiddush is that leeks for sure you should take from. The chiddush is that you take cabbage, even from cabbage you take dmai. That's what they're machadish. Umay af akamaisa. That which it says even from you even take cabbages. What does it mean? Even take cabbages? It means you even take adding onto the addition of not only you take from turnips and leeks, you also take from cabbage. Now we're going to a whole agadata about different things that happened in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. Learn a price like this. Ben Boyhoyin, there was a person called Ben Boyhoyin, the son of Boyhoyin. Nas and Pele, he used to give payah from vegetables. We just said now that payah, we don't usually take payah from vegetables. So his father came to visit the field one day, and he saw how much of poor people taking vegetables from the field. and waiting and standing at the opening of the field, meaning they were coming in to take vegetables in the field. Amalahem, he told them like this: Bani, my sons, hashlichum aleichem, leave the vegetables alone. V'ani neisen lachem kiflaim b'moser. I'll give you double of whatever vegetables you have. I'll give you double of fruit. Not because I'm a miser. I'm not trying to take the vegetables away from you. The reason why I want you to leave the vegetables here and I'll give you other things instead, because Chachamim said, Chachamim said we don't give demai, we don't give payah from vegetables. And therefore, I don't want to be over on what Chachamim said that we don't get payah from vegetables. So instead of taking the vegetables, take other fruit instead. I don't mind if you take the fruit, but take other fruit instead. Ki asked the Gemara, Lamle lamemra lahu. Why did he have to tell them, make a whole pulpit and say, I'm not taking them away from you because I'm a miser? Why do you have to tell that to them? He could just tell them, instead of taking the vegetables, it's his field. He could tell them, instead of taking the vegetables, take fruit. Because he didn't want the poor people to feel bad. He didn't want the poor people to think that he's just pushing them off and saying, oh, I need you're second-class citizens and I want you to take fruit instead. He wanted to make them feel nice. He told them, I'm not doing it because you aren't entitled to take my field. It's payah, so you can take my field, but take fruit instead of vegetables. Okay. But in the Beis Hamikdash, they had korbanos, and each animal has skin. What do they do with the skin of the animals? So the skin of the animals essentially belongs to the Kohanim. So in the beginning, when they first started in the first era of the Mishkan Beis Hamikdash, they would shech the korbanos and take all the skin and put it in a place called the Beis HaParvah, and they were stored there. La'erev, right? So when it came the evening of each day, when it came the evening of each day, they would divide all the skin of the animals between the Kohanim of that day's work. The problem was the people. There were some Kohanim were extra strong and extra mean, and they would grab away the skin from the other Kohanim. So it came out that it wasn't a fair chalukah. It wasn't a fair. It wasn't divided equally. So what did they do? Instead of dividing it every single night, they would divide it on Erev Shabbos to Erev Shabbos. Meaning on Erev Shabbos, they would divide the skin of the whole week's work. Because then all the mishmaris came. All the people who were working because that week came. For Shakal Madalin, they took their portions together. Yeah. Because there were more people, right? Since there are much more people now, so it's much harder for the mean people the strong people to grab away from other people. If you have just one day's work, so you have, let's say, 50 Kohanim, so then the strong people can only have to fight 50 Kohanim. But now, if you divide it at the end of the week, so you don't have to fight 50 Kohanim, you have to fight a couple hundred Kohanim, which is much harder, and therefore they would do it from Erev Shabbos to Erev Shabbos. The problem was the strong people, the mean people, used to grab away the skin, but there were people who held themselves as chashuv, the chashuv Kohanim, right? The Kohanim is a shevet, but in the Kohanim guf, you have different types of Kohanim. You have some people, let's say this guy's a minister, or this guy's a member of parliament. So each guy in the Kohanim himself would say that, I should get more because I'm more of a chashuv guy. So what do? They made a takana that the owner of the carbon, instead of giving it to the kohen, he should be makdish the skin to the Kohanim. There's no way of dividing it, the skin equally to the Kohanim. So he should be makdish the skin to the Beis Hamikdash. Amru. And after they made this takana, they said, it took a few days. That there was so much money that came in from everyone donating the skin to the Beis Hamikdash, and they were able to coat the whole floor of the Beis Hamikdash with golden tiles. How big were the golden tiles? The tiles were amma by amma, a square amma, and the thickness of a dinar zav. It was extremely expensive. They made so much money off it, they were able to coat the whole floor of Beis Hamikdash with golden tiles. When it came to the Yamim, when it came to Shalosh Regalim, they would fold the tiles, they would collect all the tiles. they wanted to show the Jewish nation how their donations helped the Beis Hamikdash. So they would take all the tiles and pile them up in the front of Har Bayis, so everyone should see. Everyone should see the work of when Yidden donate to the Beis Hamikdash. So now we're speaking about the things that happen in the Beis Hamikdash. We're going to bring a few more stories of things that happen in the Beis Hamikdash. We learned like this. Abba Shal says, they used to have big trees in Yericho. The people of they were very, very expensive trees, and the people of Yericho, there was some not nice people there, and they would grab away the trees and steal them. So what did they do? So the owners of the trees decided, we'll donate the trees. So we're anyway not going to have anything to do with these trees, so we're going to donate them to Beis Hamikdash. So donate to the trees of Beis Hamikdash. Abashal ben Bindus, Mishum Abashal, Mishum Abba Yosef ben Chanim, Oy li mi beis Baisus, Oy li me Lasam, Oy li mi beis Chanon, Oy li me Lechishasam. So on these people, the people who would grab the trees away from Yericho, Abashal would say that Oy li mi beis Baisus. Oy li means woe is to me that people come from Baisus. Baisus was a Kohen Gadol, and so to all the other people we're going to see over here. Were Kahanim Delim, and from these Kahanim Delim came out, even though they were Kahanim, they were tzaddikim, whatever it was, but the people who came out from them, the descendants were stealers and robbers, and that's what he says, woe is to me, the house of Baisus, and Oili me Lasa, woe is to me from the people from Beis Baisus who steal money. Oili me Beis Chanin, Oili me Lichishasan. Woe is to me, woe is to the people who come from the house of Chanin. Chanin was also a family of Kahanim. And woe is to the advice that comes to them, meaning the effect that they have on the Jewish nation. Woe is to me, the people who come from Katras. Woe is to me from their pens. What do you mean their pens? They would write very bad letters and make a very bad name for people. So woe is to me, woe is to the person who comes from the house of Katras. Woe is to the house of Yishmael ben Pachi, and woe is to me woe is to the person who gets their fist, meaning shame, because all these people, Shem Kahanim Delim, all these people were Kahanim Delim, Ubneim Gizbanim, they were Kahanim Delim, Ubneim, their children were Gizbanim, were people who were in charge of the money in Beis Hamikdash. V'chasneim, but they're already the son-in-laws, and Marklin, the son-in-laws were already. All their son-in-laws were nice people, but their slaves already and their people came out of them would hit people with sticks, meaning that even though they were okay, but their descendants had a bad effect on other people. So now we're going on further, speaking about stories that happened in the Beis Hamikdash. Tan Rabbanim, we're in the Brayso like this: Arba Tzvachis, Tzavcha Ezra. There were 4 cries that Ezra cried out, meaning 4 instances that happened in Beis Hamikdash, 4 announcements that happened in Beis Hamikdash that Ezra cried out. Yishayna, the first cry that he cried out was, Mikam b'nei Eli. He chased out the sons of Eli, the family of Eli Kohen Gadol. He chased them out of Beis Hamikdash. Why? Shetimu Seichel, because they desanctified the Heichal. They were bad people, and they said they were Zara. So even though Eli was a big Kohen Gadol, but his descendants were bad. Another announcement, another cry he cried out was, Same Mikan Yisachar Ish Kvar Bar Koi. The Yisachar, the son, the Yisachar from Kafra should go out of Beis Hamikdash. Why? Because he respects himself and he desecrates the name of heaven. And why would he do? He would, even though he was a Kohen Gadol, and he would wear silk gloves, even though he wanted to respect Hashem, whatever it was. But since he was wearing silk gloves, he used to wear nice gloves, and the din is a Kohen cannot wear gloves when he's serving the Beis Hamikdash. So he's mechaber satzmei, he's respecting himself, and while he's respecting himself by looking nice, he's going against the Eibishter because you're not allowed to work with gloves. Another announcement he did was Veitzavcha Ezra Sur Sharim L'Sheichem V'Yikanis Yisrael Ben Pachi. He said that Veitzavcha Azara Sur Sharim L'Sheichem V'Yikanis Yishmael ben Pachi. When they invited Yishmael ben Pachi to come into the Beis Hamikdash, it was a big deal. Talmid of Pinchas, Visham Shekon Agdela, since he was a big when he came to the inviting the Beis Hamikdash was a big thing, even though he was a nice guy, even though his family were bad, but he was good. They tzav chazara so shan Moshe mikanas yechem ben Rabbi Talmid Shem Pankoi v'Male Kreisim Mikatche Shomayim. When they invited Yechanan ben Rabbi to come to be the Kohen Gadol, to come work in Beis Hamikdash, they told him he should come and eat from the kabbanis. Why? What was special for Yechanan ben Rabbi? Amar alav Yechanan ben Rabbi. They said on Yechanan ben Rabbi, Sheyechel Gimel Meis Agolim. He ate 300 calves. The Sheisa Gimel Meis Garbe Yain, and he drank 300 pitchers of wine. And he ate 40 saw of gizalis, 40 saw of pigeons. This person of Yechanan ben Rabbi, he would eat so much food from the Beis Hamikdash. He would eat 400 calves, 300 calves. He would drink 300 jugs of wine, and he would eat 40 saw of doves for dessert. Meaning he ate a lot of food. Amr, they said, all the days that Yechanan ben Rabbi was in the Beis Hamikdash, there was never left over food in the Beis Hamikdash. Why did they kick out Yisachar? We said before they kicked out Yisachar. What happened to Yisachar, the son of the person of Kfar Bakoi, which you said before, that they weren't happy with him. So they said, Amar Malko Yosli. It said the king and the queen were sitting and talking, and Malka Amar, the king said, they give a mashal. The king said, Gadiyot. King said that a goat's meat is better food. And the queen said, the Malka Amar Imniyot. The queen said that a lamb is better meat. Amro Mamichiach. Who's gonna say the king and queen? So this was what in the end happened with Yechanan ben Rabbi. So they said that there was king and queen. They had an argument whether goat's meat is better or lamb's meat is better. So they said, who's going to prove us? We have to find someone who eats a lot of meat. Who eats a lot of meat? Yechanan. They asked the Kohen Gadol. Let's bring a Kohen Gadol. He eats the Kamesa Kabbanis. He eats Kabbanis every single day, and therefore he probably knows what meat is better. Also, they brought him together. They brought him this Yechanan ben Rabbi to them. And he signaled with his hand, and he said like this: He said, if the goat's meat is better, then we should sacrifice the carbon tamid with goat's meat. Meaning, since the carbon tamid is a lamb, so it proved that lamb is better than goats. So that was in favor for the queen. So the king told him, a must of the malchus. So since he's not respecting the king, right? Because so we should chop off his hand. Meaning he went against me, so chop off his hand. Yoav Sheicha the Paskin Ismale, and he gave a bribe. He gave a bribe to the official who was there to chop off his hand, and instead of cutting off his right hand, he cut off his left hand. He was righty, so he had to use his right hand, so he cut off his left hand instead. Shama Malko Paskin Amina, the king heard that he bribed him, so he said, "You bribed him. I'm going to cut off your right hand." So he was left without any hands. Achman al-Slah. Amr Yosef says, "Brich Rachmana." The Ashkel the Yisach Yishkra Bakoi, the Mitzvah Femine Bahai, Almar. Rabbi Yosef said, "Blessed is the Eibishter who wasn't patient in this world and punished him in this world instead of giving him punishment in Elam Haba." So even though he got a very bad punishment in this world, but Rabbi Yosef said that blessed is the Eibishter who punishes people in this world as opposed to getting punishment in Elam Haba from which is much more severe. Okay, we're going to stop right over here on Zion on the base. On Sunday we'll just do on Zion on the base, and that's the end of the prayer.